What's happening, guys? Today's video is sponsored by Aura. They do online security things. I've been using them for a couple weeks, and while I was pretty reticent to sign up in the first place, I'm glad that I did. Aura does identity theft protection, big deal to me, VPN, antivirus stuff, also fraud prevention and password management. I'm not using all the features right now, but the ones I am using is the VPN, which is a big deal, the fraud prevention, and it'll do stuff like monitor the dark web. I found out that my email address is out on the dark web. It popped up one time, which means I'm doing pretty good overall. Don't be surprised if they find all kinds of usages of your email on the dark web. Once I found this out, I wanted to throw this computer out the window, but some of my techie staff said destroying your own computer won't solve the problem. You need Aura to do that, and so Aura has your back. If you visit aura.com/WPS, you'll be able to experience a 2-week trial, absolutely free. But as soon as you see all the public sites that trade your information being opted out by Aura and monitoring that happens on a real-time basis, holy cow, you'll want to keep it. $10 a month to start is not bad at all. Check it out, aura.com/WPS. Video time, here we go. What's happening, folks? I'm joined by my lovely bride.
It's me, lovely bride. Hi, Internet.
That's a fantastic lead-in.
Also known as Becca. Hello.
We have a conversation constantly on raising our kids and education. And when my wife speaks to other parents, it's a moment she really comes alive on, because we have really discovered something profound, something that's shocking even to us given our backgrounds and prior mindsets. And so we wanted to actually just include you guys in it because I think it's really, really important stuff. So when you are on social media, you'll oftentimes include the hashtag Save the Boys. What is Save the Boys?
Save the Boys is just a deep heart's cry passion I have just for the welfare of boys in general right now. So young all the way up to teenagers. Boys in general are really at a disadvantage a lot of times in the public education system and just in society in general. So I wanted just to touch on the two biggest things is that there are often recommended medications that are probably unnecessary. There's other ways around that. And then just the life is squelched out of their spirit a lot of times, and they need alternatives. They need outlets to just be boys again. I love that Matt Walsh says boyhood is not a disease.
Amen.
It does not need to be medicated. It does not need to be fixed. It is what it is. These boys, just like you used to be, are wired to move, to create, to learn while they're moving, and a lot of school systems don't like that. And I didn't know what to do with that at first. So we were given our two awesome boys, and I come from a background of all public school. From my parents, one was a principal, one was a teacher, and then grandparents, aunts, everybody was a teacher. So just the idea of homeschool was completely foreign, unexpected, unapproved, looked down on.
It was a scandal.
It was a scandal. That is exactly what it was. But that seems to follow us, does it not? In our
sure.
Because we got married fast.
No.
That's a funny side note. Yeah, we just did not know what to do with what was happening, getting free speech services from the public school system, and then just the fear of, do we continue on this path? We can't. What else do? We don't know.
Like tires just jumping in deep ruts. We found ourselves just kind of doing what everyone did. It's like, oh, you kindergarten.
You register
Are you
for
doing pre-K? I'm like,
are
we supposed to do pre-kindergarten? Sure. I mean, like, I don't want to have the stupid kid in class. I don't want the smelly idiot, you know, like, I guess we do pre-K. Is there a pre-K? Should we do that?
There is a pre-K, and I see all the time parents posting, oh, Sonny went off to pre-K today. He's 2.5. Wow.
No.
Or he's 3, you know, and their backpack is bigger than their whole body. Don't send that child out of your house.
No, You'll never get those years back.
You'll never get those years back.
No, let them be little boys. Keep them at home and let's go find some new trails.
Yeah.
Poor moms and dads who don't understand. They're giving away those years and asking someone else to raise their kids. You're never going to see 2.5, 3.5, 4 again. Sorry, that struck me as real sad. Let's get on with the video.
So back to our kid, we were receiving speech therapy services at our local public school. We had some testing done, everything had turned out okay, but then we were sat down for this grave, serious meeting to tell us the dire situation of our child. And this is when I'm so grateful for how John Lovell is wired, because he just cut through the crap. What did you say?
So yeah, it was grim, and they had like this committee. The gal in charge looked like she was in her early 20s with her
Younger than
newly
me.
minted social justice degree, social work degree. Not that there's anything, well, there's probably something wrong with it.
There's something wrong with that.
But anyway, but everyone's very serious, and I feel like they're having some kind of intervention to let me know, you know, that my kid is broken. And she tries to throw in a bunch of jargon on some stuff, but finally I'm quiet for quite a while, and then I'm like, so you're telling me he has trouble with the R sound? And then I was quiet, and then she was quiet for a moment
And
too.
I'm almost in tears over here. I mean, I'm like crushed, something is wrong, like life as we had predicted was over, you know?
I'm like, I just don't see many adults or even teenagers struggling with the R sound. I think it's a little kid thing, and he's going to grow out of it. Well, what's the big deal here? And no one could answer what the big deal was. So anyway, we yanked him out of that. I'm like, all right, I think we're done with you guys. And then we hit the road.
Yeah, I did want to say though, I do think it can be a good fit for some families, but not for us and not for the majority of children that are subjected to such things. So yeah, there was another day I hear screaming from a distance, and I poke my head out in the hallway and I think, oh man, some kid's having a bad day. And then I'm like, that's my kid. I hear the screaming. I look down the hall from way off and I see two teachers dragging him, one on each arm, and he's just, you know, feet dragging. I'm like, wow, he must have done something horrible.
Is he like 5?
He was 4.
4.
They
Okay.
get up to me and say, well, he wouldn't put the plane down. So that was that day.
We both asked, well, why can't he just have the plane?
Could you bring me the plane? And they wanted to open up a file, IEP, and set him on a course that would stay with him through his entire education. I come from public educators. You were not homeschooled, so we just had to sit down and figure out, oh my goodness, we don't know what to do, but we're not doing this. Because I just saw the future of first it would start with all these therapies or, you know, systems, and then it would go to, all right, well, he's a bad kid, started like the airplane. Now we recommend we put him on a medication. And guys, that's how it starts. And I have people close to me in my life that once they're on that, it is hard to get them off. And you're just on a different projected pathway for life.
And I think the real problem here is they're prescribed medication or some huge corrective course to change their behaviors for the horrible crime of having too many wiggles.
Too much energy, yeah.
In the words of Nacho Libre.
But sister, they are just niños trying to release their wiggles.
I'm like, hey, they're little boys. That's what they do. They got to wiggle.
Yeah.
They're built to kind of blaze new trails. It's part of learning leadership.
Yes.
And socialization is to get out, cut new trails, be creative, make games, be dirty, you know, do all the stuff that little boys did.
Yeah.
The stuff that you and I did growing up in the woods now is no longer condoned because they sit still in one little desk for
7
hours.
hours a day. Up until the 1960s, education didn't start until kids were 6 or 7. And it was first grade. They didn't even have kindergarten.
Right.
And so now everyone's looking around thinking, what's wrong with the kids? Anxiety's higher than ever. Teenage suicide's higher than ever. School shootings with active killers is higher than ever. It all starts so young, where that light in their eyes just goes out.
Yeah.
And I was just looking back at pictures of our sons from preschool this morning, and just those bright eyes, like that's not gone.
No.
We even had friends recently tell us the light's still there. And you know, even though it's just a phrase, you can really tell a lot by that. You can look at kids that light's not there anymore. But I would say that it's not ruined. You can get it back no matter how old your child is. You can work hard, you can get it back.
So drugs specifically, I was diagnosed with ADD and I was prescribed Ritalin as a teenager. And I remember taking pills and they did help me focus. Oftentimes that was the only time I'd be like, I had immaculate, like clean room because I'd focus on the stuff I wasn't supposed to focus on. But once everything's clean and ordered, then I might do my homework and do pretty darn well. But I guess I just didn't like the idea that I needed a pill to be able to mentally focus. I didn't like that. I didn't like having that crutch. And so really I'm just like, I took that personally. I'm like, you know what? I don't need a stupid pill to focus. And I think it was harder for me to sit still and focus than other kids. I just had a wilder spirit about me. But I forced myself to do it, and the more I forced myself to do it, the more I could do it. And so, though I was prescribed by the experts, given drugs, I decided to just through discipline and grit to overcome that. And guess what? I overcame it, and I can sit still and focus just fine today.
Incredibly well.
And perhaps better than the common bear. Some medications are crucial. Most of the ones we're putting in our kids are not at all. You're just doping your kids.
And my two questions would be, why are medications suddenly so common in this day and age? They weren't needed a few decades ago, but that's when the changes in school started happening. That's when kids started getting sent to school earlier and earlier, and they would sit longer and longer, and they would do less and less that actually sparked their minds.
Some of the drugs, I wonder, and I'm not, by the way, if you're highly offended, clutching your pearls of like, who is this guy who says drugs are not necessarily, maybe they are. Most, I believe, are not. And that's just my opinion. I have my opinion, you have your opinion, and we can agree to disagree, but I've seen a lot. So have you. This is my conclusions and I'm entitled to them. But I think a lot of kids are doped up on these drugs because the parents don't really know how to behavior modify. They don't know how to actually discipline, and they've listened to too much pop psychology
Parenting,
on
that's right.
This is how you parent, and it doesn't really work. And then they're in this like negotiating with the terrorists, the 2s and 3s and stuff, and the kid won't change, and they don't know how to properly parent for effective change, and so then they dope them up, and that fixes the problem.
That's right.
Instead of you're doping them up because you suck as a parent. Learn better parenting.
Okay, so do you remember years ago when we lived overseas in student ministry, those years of living with 30 high school graduates?
Right, yeah, I was
Super
I was
fun
teaching.
times.
My main job was as a teacher. I would teach 2 to 3 hours a day, and I did that for 4 years for college-age students. But we also kind of like live-in house parents for
the first
30
couple years,
teenagers or 20-ish.
Yeah, so it's like we had the experience ahead of time of being parents to all those teenagers because we lived with them for a year. So we had the opportunity to see students, most of them 18, not all, who had just graduated from public high school, private high school, and then the homeschooled high school students. And there were remarkable differences between all three.
Yeah.
Some had never read a whole book. Some had read many books and could debate. They knew logic. They knew church history.
Always homeschoolers,
It
by
was
the way.
always the
Always
homeschoolers.
homeschool. You could
They were
literally,
more well-rounded.
you could literally, I mean, but the homeschoolers, from what I surmised, after 4 years of living with the kids, 8 years of teaching them, year after year I would go back, even if I wasn't living there, I surmised that the public school students had virtually no education. I don't know what they've been doing. They're wasting time. They had virtually no real education to speak of. Just worldview, history, writing, literature, just none of it. It just seemed like no real education. The private schoolers were hit and miss. Sometimes it would be very good. Sometimes they looked indistinguishable from the public school students. And so you didn't know what you were getting with the private schools. Oftentimes what I noticed is private schools charge you a lot of money. They adopt a public school curriculum and they add a chapel and a code of conduct. It didn't really do anything. Every once in a while, maybe 1 out of 4 or 5 of the private school students seemed to be a real head and shoulders above. And then the homeschoolers blew everyone away. It was just night and day different. It seemed unfair. And so it's like I'd be having a class with the homeschoolers and everyone else was kind of watching in. That's what it felt like. And that seems really harsh and whatever, but it's like lights are on and then lights are off. And it was so hard as a teacher to try to stoke these fires back alive, to get them to actually give a crap, to care. That was extremely difficult to even walk through. I'm kind of like, I'm seeing lots of data year after year. These are students from all over the United States, all kinds of different backgrounds, but there was a common denominator. It was undeniable. One thing that was a struggle for us is we felt like we were just unqualified to homeschool or really take control over what the experts were telling us. And guess what? They really don't know as much as they'd like you to believe.
Well, and it changes every few decades.
Right?
They say, here's the expertise. Now here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an overthrow of your values for theirs.
You are the most qualified to help your children, to take over your children's education, because no one in the world loves them as much as you do. That's the #1 qualification. You can figure it out, you can find resources, you can get a community of other like-minded people around you doing the same thing and make it work. Thanks for stopping by. Like, subscribe, comment, let us know what you think down below, and as always, train hard, train smart.
What's happening, guys? My name's John, and I think woke entertainment sucks. I want some just good old-fashioned values in my entertainment. God, family, country, fist pump, freedom-loving stuff. That's what I miss in entertainment. The big guys like Netflix and Amazon and Hollywood, they hate your values, they hate my values. So I'm asking you guys to check out WPSN. Watch WPSN.com. That's the Warrior Poet Society Network. That's our thing, and we've got cool binge-worthy shows without all the woke nonsense.
Right in the...
Oh, you got both. When you don't feel like belly laugh, fun, or intense drama shows, you can pivot over and check out our full tactical training classes. Because what dude in America doesn't want to learn how to defend themselves with their hands or blades? Being able to take long-range precision shots to end something from a different zip code, I think that's pretty darn cool, and so do you. For $10 a month, you can join WPSN, WPSN.com, and that's it. I'm out. Do the thing. Do the right thing.